In this discussion, you can see how to use a SQL constraint in Odoo side, and we will see SQL constraint model level attribute in detail. In case you missed previous discussion about underscore sequence model level attribute, please check, link is given in description. First we need to understand what is SQL constraint and why we need to use this one, and then we will see how to implement in Odoo side. You need to understand like Postgres SQL supports six types of constraint generally, like not null constraint, unique constraint, primary key, foreign key, check constraint, and exclusion constraint. So we will cover few of them in SQL side and then Odoo side. First let me go to browser. Okay, so you can see here, like if you don't know supported attributes, we will have the playlist here, like list of the playlist. You can see here all the playlist is available. Like if you are a fresher, you can just use this playlist. If you want to, if you are looking specially a specific topic related command line, you can use this one. Then after, if you are looking for a data type or fields, you can use this one. Then after, like how many ORM methods available in Odoo, you can use this one. Right now we are currently working on in this playlist, like Odoo supported models, and if you want to see the few examples, you can see here. And also we have like Python tips. Inside Python tips you can see basic examples like how to merge, split PDF file, create or read Excel file, and like how to create CSV file, JSON file, and how to compile your C programming language using Python language. So right now we are focusing on this playlist, and if you want the source code, you can download from here. It's open for all, this one, and you can see the available modules here. Okay, so let's go to the terminal side, and let me open the specific database. And first we will see like not null constraint. First we need to understand what is constraint. Like whenever you are adding any record or any information in a specific table, then we need, like sometimes we need to validate such fields. For example, the uniqueness. Then after, for example, the field should be required, I mean the not null field. Then after we will check some conditions, like if the, for example, in employee, let's say the salary should not be less than 0, less than or equal to 0, and much more. Here we can add the like we can add validations. So those validations we can say in SQL terminology as a constraint. So there are many example, like many constraints supported by Postgres. You can see also in official documentation. So right now we will see small demonstration about how to use the not null, check, and unique constraint in Postgres side, and then after we will move to the Odoo side, how we can implement the same thing in Odoo side. So for example, like let me create one table, Weblearn's employee. Then after, like ID, int, primary key, and it should not be not null. You can see here we added the not null constraint. Then after, like name, and here it should be text, and again we will use like the name field should not be blank, so not null. and let's say salary. It's a real type, and let me create this table. Okay, the table is successfully created. Now I will add one record in this table, like insert into Weblearn's employee ID, name, and salary values. For example, I will not add here. So for example, want to check like the not null constraint, I will remove the ID and I will try to add here the name like Weblands, and salary is something like this, and trying to enter. Okay, so here it's failed due to, you can see here the ID violate not null constraint. So again we are going here and let me add ID, the ID of the employee, and now it's created successfully. Let me fetch the employee detail. You can see it's successfully added. Now I will do what I will do, like I will blank the employee name. Again it will raise the error. Okay, first, like you can see here, the name violent not null constraint, so it will fail again because we didn't add the name here. Again let me add one more name like this, and I will add here the name colon. Okay, again it will raise the error because you can see here the we added a primary key here, so primary key should be always unique. So you can see here previously we add one ID as a 1. Again we added, we trying to add the ID as a 1, so it will not allow in database side, so we will add here the ID as a 2, and once I will enter, you can see the it's successfully insert. So something like the constraint in working, like whenever you add data inside any specific table, and that table and specific colon having any specific constraint, it will raise the error due to unmatched record. So like this way you can add the constraint in SQL side. And one more interesting thing is here, like you can also add here the checkpoint, like salary should not be less than 0. For example, right now I'm adding here 0, like this salary is 0. I will change the ID. Let me add here the employee name, and I will try to insert. You can see it's easily allow me to add here the record, and you can see here like the employee name salary, employee name salary, and this employee having a 0 salary. But we can also add here one more condition, like if the salary is more than 0, I mean the greater than 0, then it will allow, otherwise you can just raise the error. So here we will implement one constraint, the name is check, check. Let's see how it will work. Like first we need to add the constraint, and then after we are trying to insert one record in this table, like alter table, table name, and then after add constraint, and here we have to give the constraint name employee salary check, something like this. So it is a good thing if you will add here the first table name and the colon name, and then after your message. So it will very easy to understand what this constraint mean. We can use like check in bracket salary greater than 0. Oops. Let's see, let's remove this name. Oh, I just forgot the name. Like after check we have to space, add a space here, and the colon name. Oops, we did some mistake. Let me clear the logs first. You can see here, like right now we face the, we will like Postgres not allowing to add that constraint. So what is the reason is, you can see here. So let's start from Weblearn, and right now you can see it will having an issue here, like because we added as a 0, and our condition is if less than or equal to 0 is there, then it will raise the exception from the database side. So again, like we need to change the salary 0 to something else right now for the temporary purpose. Set salary equal to 10 where id equal to 3. Okay, and now we will add alter table Weblearn, add constraint salary limit, and here check salary greater than 0. So you can see it's now successfully added the constraint, and if you will see the detail, you will get the constraint here along with the name and the condition here. Okay, so that's it, and let me add here the record, and we are trying to raise the exception like Weblearn id name salary values here like 4 Weblearn comma, and I'm adding as a salary as 0. Okay, so it will false because you can see here the this salary limit constraint checking the specific colon, and if it will match the specific condition, it will raise the exception again, like 10,000, something like this, and successfully inserted the record. Okay, so again you can see here like this. Right now, that's it from the SQL side. I hope you understood the SQL constraint. Now the same constraint we can add in Odoo side using a underscore SQL underscore constraint metadata, I mean the models attribute. So you can see here like the basic syntax is like underscore SQL underscore constraints, then after we have to add as a equal to, and here we have to assign as a list of tuple, because so here you can add multiple constraint inside the list using tuple. And yeah, tuple having a three parameters, like the first one is the constraint name, then after SQL constraint condition. So first parameter is the constraint name, like not null, unique, then after check and all. Then after the second parameter we have to pass like the condition, and then condition or colon name, and the third one is the user message. What should be the message to display in front end side, so we can add here the user message. And yeah, that's it. And now let's move ahead, and we'll try to add the SQL constraint in Odoo side. Okay, let me go to PyCharm editor. So we have this one. Okay, in school, in model, and right now I'm adding one more SQL constraint here, like SQL underscore constraint, and then I will add as a list, and here tuple. I will add as a school name should be unique, but before that we can go to the browser first, and going to in school. First we can see the school name should be unique always. Okay, so school name is unique right now, and we can add here the constraint name, like something like name underscore unique, and we will add as a unique constraint. And here we have to add the colon name means here field name, so name, and here we can add here the user message if the condition is not match. Please enter unique school name, given school name already exist. Okay, and we have to upgrade this module, so we are going to in terminal. We can restart the service, plus we can upgrade the module using terminal side, no need to go to in back front end side. And let's see the process first. Okay, it's successfully upgraded. Okay, now let's create one more school profile. First refresh the page, and let me try this, the same name, and trying to add, okay, school code like 6. Oops, spelling mistake here. Save the record and going to front end side, and let me delete this record first. This one also, and upgrade the module. Okay, so you can see here the name is already added, unique constraint for the name field. And now going to browser and refresh the page and trying to duplicate. You can see the message like please enter unique school name, given school name already exists. So like this way you can add the constraint here. So let's add one more constraint as a check constraint in backend side, and you can see here like we don't need to again use the same underscore constraint like this. We don't need to implement like this way, but we can use here directly after comma, and again in tuple we have to use the same thing like, but right now we will not add the constraint here. We will not add constraint here. Instead we will add constraint in in student profile. Okay, this is our student profile, and let me add here the constraint. For example, the name, unique name, exist, and unique name field. After comma we can add here the total fees, like total fees check total fees greater than 100. Minimum fees sorry allow something like this. Okay, so right now you can see we have two constraints back to back using SQL constraint attribute, and this is model level attribute, so we need to define like this way. And if you have a more, you can add here the more SQL constraint. There is no limit, and it depends on your requirement. You can add here. Again I'm going to here, sorry, first we will see the student profiles. The name should be unique always. Yeah, okay, name is unique. And let me upgrade the student module from backend side, and for the double confirmation we can check from the SQL side. Okay, so you can see here the unique constraint is added for the name field, and for the check constraint we already added here the total fees is greater than 100. Let's see how we can raise the exception. Okay, so total fees is 200, now updated as a 100, and name field is unique right now. We can trying to save. Okay, so minimum 101 amount allow, so 101. Okay, and trying to duplicate. Okay, so you can see here the validation is already there. We don't need to add any Python side validations. And yeah, this constraint, let's say, so here it will work using create and write method. So for example, this is already existing record and I'm trying to update the name and trying to save. It will give the same exception, so we don't need to override our create and write method. And these validations directly checked by PSQL, not from the Odoo side. So that's the main reason you can avoid some specific validations from Odoo side. I hope you understood the SQL constraint and how you can use using Odoo side. If you have any question or query, please comment below and see you in next session.